Hello, hello, hello.
And welcome to the Hildebrand Law Firm topic for today.
I'm Kirsten Hildebrand.
And I'm Matt Kaplan.
And today we're all about charity.
Yay.
We want to make sure that we are thinking about our stuff as related to having it be useful and growing and developing for the purpose of the common good, right?
Yes. And charity, especially more so recently, has become a lot more popular with my clients. I have a lot of clients that either they say, my kids are doing great, but I have these organizations that are near and dear to me, or I have a lot of clients whose spouses maybe suffer from some sort of a condition, whether that be cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and they want to make sure that they leave certain money to those charities. Mm-hmm. And then also I have clients that don't have children. And so they want to leave money to those charities. What I always say is, leave money to me.
Are you a 501c3? I don't think you are.
Not yet.
I agree. I think giving to charity is so important, and it's just a really wonderful way to continually remind us that we really don't own anything.
Right.
It's just such an odd way of thinking about what we have, but we are really just stewards of what it is that we are supposed to be then passing on and passing forward to the people that we love and the charities that we love. And so those can range from all different manner and kinds of different charities, but the point being that it can be really important to think about that in 2025. And why is that, Matt?
Well, in 2025, the federal estate tax limit, so that is the tax of a transfer of wealth over a certain amount. And 2025, that limit is $13.99 million. So, Kirsten, when you decide to give me an excellent Christmas bonus this year, make sure you keep it under 13.99.
Okay,
and
will.
Just because I care about you.
Yes.
I know you like to be heavy-handed with those bonuses, especially this year. and so what that means is that every dollar over 13.99 million that is either transferred while you're alive or that is transferred to your family or whomever after you pass away, with the exception of charities, will be taxed at a very high rate.
Yes.
And the reason being is that the government wants this money to be put to work and all of that. Now, there are ways to avoid said tax, of course, and there are also ways to work around or work with said tax. Mm-hmm. With the vast majority of our clients never hitting that $14 million range, they claim that they don't care about it, which rightfully so. However, with uncertainty in the new Congress, the new Senate, and the new presidency, we don't know if that number is going to come down, if that number is going to go up. At the end of this year, that number is set to reset to what it was before the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act came out in Trump's first administration. And the number now with inflation that people are expecting is around 7 million instead of that 14 million. Now, all of a sudden, a lot more people qualify for that. And they may think, well, I guess a big issue in Wisconsin, too, people have land up north.
Yes.
That can be worth a lot of money, especially maybe their grandparents bought it for nothing. And now it's worth a lot of money. People have farms that have a ton of equipment on them, that have a ton of land that could be worth a lot of money. And so it's not just multimillionaires in their, penthouse apartments.
Yes.
It could be regular people that now might be subject to that.
Have you ever noticed how many people in Wisconsin don't have any money? It's really incredible, because I think that probably the common cultural idea is, I don't really have a lot of money.
Right.
And really, especially, we love working with farmers because they really have gold dirt. They really have a huge amount of value in their hard assets and in their land, and they might not fully recognize that. And if they don't, they're really running themselves straight into a brick wall. And because there's going to be tax issues, there's going to be implications for this. And a lot of times they're not able to pay those. And then you're talking about selling the family farm after however many decades of it being owned. So we really, really find that to be important to make sure that we're doing good planning for our farmer clients.
Exactly. And so going back to the idea of charity, the whole idea with this is that keep in mind in your head, why would I care about something like this?
Mm-hmm.
Reason being is that if your goal is to leave some money to charity, then this might be a good idea for you. And so the trust that I want to talk about is one of my favorites out there. It's called a Charitable Remainder Unitrust. It has the worst acronym in the history of estate planning, CRUT.
Ew.
Horrible.
That sounds terrible.
Absolutely horrible.
Why would you want a CRUT?
I know. It's really bad. It's like just a really bad.
It sounds like something you would not want to eat. Like you're in
Right.
some foreign country and they're like, oh, would you like some CRUT? And you're like, no. I just ate, thank you.
And so with this CRUT, Charitable Remainder Unitrust, here are some nuances of it, Kirsten, which I absolutely love. And so obviously it's a trust that will allow you to leave money to charities. But the big things about it, the reason that someone will want to set it up is when you die, you don't really get that tax treatment for giving money to charity because you don't have any income when you die. And so a lot of people love contributing to charity because A, it's the right thing to do, but B, you get a pretty nice tax write-off.
Yes.
The government encourages you to contribute to charity. And so the thought is, well, why don't I take advantage of that tax write-off while I'm alive? Save me a little bit of money. And so what a really nice thing about this CRUT is that when you contribute an asset to a charitable remainder unitrust, the reason it's called charitable remainder is because throughout your life or throughout a term of years, let's say you set it up for 20 years or for your whole life, you can take income off of that asset inside of the trust. I'll give you an example. Let's say I have a stock I inherited from my grandfather. He bought it for a nickel and he thought it was too expensive then, and now that stock is worth $1 million. Okay? If I were to sell it now, what kind of capital gains taxes am I looking at?
Well, it would be insane.
It would be insane.
Right? It would be insane. It would be 20% of $1 million.
Right, exactly. And so if instead of selling it, if I contribute it to my charitable remainder unitrust, which under the IRS rules is seen as a 501c3, then sell it, because it's a charity, it pays no taxes. And so now I have $1 million in cash when I used to have an asset that if I sold it, I'd probably only have, $75,000, $80,000 in cash, depending on what the taxes are. So now I have $1 million in cash. What am I going to do with it? I'll invest it in some sort of a taxable investment account. And then over the course of my life, my wife and I will take income from it. Let's say that generates conservatively 5% income a year. My wife and I will take $50,000 from it over the course every year, year after year. And let's say at the end of my life expectancy, the IRS calculates, okay, after you taking 5% income, taking into account average growth, we expect there to be a charitable gift at the end of that road of $200,000. You know what I get to do? I get to take a $200,000 tax exemption today.
Very good.
And if it's too much for me,
right,
I get to stretch it out over the next few years. And so not only did I not pay capital gains taxes when I sold that asset, but I was able to take a tax write-off from that. So I save money on taxes, still get income from that asset, and then have it go to charity, which was my goal to begin with.
Wonderful.
And so I love these trusts, especially if you plan on leaving any sort of money to charity and you want to take advantage of that tax write-off, you can. And that goes back to your previous video, Kirsten, is that when you Google, should I get an irrevocable trust, they're not going to come up with these nuances.
Right. Right. And they're not going to explain to you the pros and the cons in an appropriate way.
Right.
Yes, it might be the case that you can only take income, but you weren't planning on using this money anyway, and sort of just talking through that. And sometimes people can be concerned, well, what if I do need the money? Well, what if? And talking through those what ifs and getting to a point of, okay, rationally speaking, here's what the possibilities are, and here's how we can solve for this. That's what good lawyering is. It's taking tools, applying them to your situation, and then helping you get to a comfort level where you feel really good about this decision.
And if you have any questions about charitable remainder unitrust, please leave them down in the comments or give us a call. I love talking about this kind of stuff. In my opinion, it's one of the kind of unsung heroes of irrevocable trusts out there that people don't utilize enough.
Trusts are heroes. I love it. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.